Linestock right back in that Friday night role. Kenley Cahalan steps in to lead things off on a 66-degree night, and we are off and rolling. Johnson & Johnson will also bat this inning. Dowling, Clark, Dukeshire, Hevelin, Valentine, and White round out the starting nine for Coach Murphy. Cahalan just under 300 at 299. She's really been hitting the ball well as of late.
Cahalan coming off of a 2-hit series against Texas A&M, hitting .304 in SEC play. So when that average is above 300, you're getting on better than 3 out of 10 times. That's great.
Pitch fades down and out, 3-0.
Not the ideal for Linestock in the circle. 3-0, you never want to go there, especially to an opposing team's leadoff hitter. The key for Linestock, she's going to have to work ahead in the count. Otherwise, this Crimson Tide lineup is going to make her pay.
It's not an Alabama team that lights things up offensively, but they do love to get on base, be disruptive. Team batting average 11th for Alabama, 8th in home runs. Courtney Deifel said this Alabama team likes to make you feel them, and Coach Murphy would enjoy some base runners to put some pressure on the Razorbacks, and they're going to get one and a base hit up the middle by Cahalan to begin the game.
It's a great at-bat by Cahalan. She was patient to start off the at-bat, got the 3-0 count. She took a strike. 3-1 wasn't her pitch. She forced Linestock to come over a bigger part of the plate. Look at where this ball is centered. It is middle third of the plate. Cahalan all over it, sends it right back up the chute. Look at the patience and how she keeps her hands behind the ball. That allows her that extension to drive it through the infield quickly. Alabama in business.
And it brings up Lauren Johnson, right fielder, 49 at-bats on the year. She's going to take strike one. And again, Linestock has been the veteran and the juggernaut in this Arkansas pitching rotation this year. But last weekend, again, gave up 7 hits and 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Didn't have her normal 6 or 7 innings on Friday and a Sunday. Robin Herron certainly stepped forward and provided some amazing numbers for the Razorbacks. And it was almost giving us pause. Could Robin Herron actually start tonight rather than Linestock? Might we see both? And that's a wave and a miss. Nice pitch. Throw to second base is a little bit high, or it would have had Cahalan. She's able to get the bag on the throw from Miller that took Hammondson a little bit up in the air. That's a good pitch to run on. Miller had a chance.
Hit and run on, trying to protect. You're right, the throw is on time, but you can see the placement there as Hammondson has to really stretch. If that throw is on the money down towards the bag, it's a bang-bang. Cahalan very well could have been out.
And Johnson waves and misses. A strikeout from Linestock for the first out.
Big comeback there from Linestock to be able to get Johnson on 3 straight pitches with a K. You still have a runner in scoring position, so not out of the woods, but it's important to come back after giving up that leadoff single.
And it brings up Jenna Johnson. 5 home runs on the year. Good pitch from Linestock at the knees for a called strike. Jenna Johnson, no stranger to the Razorbacks. Last year, again, these teams played 4 games. She had a 3-for-3 game in Tuscaloosa, part of a 2-0 win. We know these teams met here in the conference tournament, and she went 3-for-5, had a big hit in extra innings, trying to put her team in front in the first inning here tonight in the opener of this series. Linestock nibbling on the outside corner, doesn't get the call from Scott Mayer, our plate umpire.
Linestock doesn't get the call there, but I like the pitch sequencing. She went second pitch changeup, which is the first time she's gone off speed, and then trying to establish that outside corner. That's what Linestock is supposed to do this first time through the order, try to feel out the home plate umpire zone.
And the 1-2. Out to right. Carter's there. She's got it. Cahalan's going to tag. She'll advance to third, but now 2 outs.
Jenna Johnson just with so much power off of the bat. That ball didn't look like it had a lot to it, and it really carried out to right field. Carter had to take a couple steps back. There is no wind here at Bogle, so that wasn't wind aided, but it just gives you a sense of how strong Jenna Johnson is and what she's capable of at the plate.
How can we play a game at Bogle Park when the winds aren't blowing 20 or 25 miles an hour?
It feels like it should be illegal. It's always windy up here in Fayetteville.
Bailey Downing, the third baseman, next in. Arkansas did lose a series a couple of weekends ago at home to Mississippi State. They fell 15-7 in the third game of that series, and the wind was blowing straight out to Bud Waltner towards the scoreboard. Anything up, carried right on out, but much more normal conditions tonight. That's a two-hopper to Halverson. She's got it. Retires Downing to end the inning, so a leadoff single in the last inning. She came back and pitched game 3 of that series. It allowed 7 hits, 9 runs, 5 earned. There was only 1 double in that entire game. It was a bizarre contest, but got touched up for 9 runs, and that's not something she's been accustomed to at all. But those last 2 games of that series did not go the way the Crimson Tide wanted. I think that magnifies the importance of this game and this series.
Alabama and Arkansas are in a very similar situation in terms of if you look at their body of work. The major difference is the fact that right now Arkansas has that padding in the standings. In this series, I was listening to the Outside the Box pod on the way up here. It's done by Alabama's radio team. But they were talking about this series being kind of that catalyst moment for the Crimson Tide. It's almost do or die time now for them.
It does feel important. Johnson second in the conference in hits will foul that one away. I mean, Alabama wins tonight. They're 1 game back of Arkansas in the standings. They lose and it's 3, and then it becomes a little more kind of problematic to build your way back up. There's not a ton of games left in conference play.
No, the season has gone by so quickly. That conference tournament coming up very, very soon, and there aren't a lot of wins left on the schedule. And so that's why this particular series has such meaning.
Corners creeping in against Johnson. So take that one a little bit in. 12th in the league in batting average. Reagan Johnson does not walk a lot, trying to see some pitches. Here from Kayla Beaver to begin the bottom of the first inning. Next one on the way, and that is strike 3 called. Beaver gets a strikeout.
And Beaver getting Johnson to start off the inning. Watch the action on this screwball. It starts middle third and just tails away, perfectly paints the black on the outside. I'm not sure if they got Johnson on the swing because there was a half offer or on the call. Either way, it's strike 3. Good start here for Beaver.
And Nia Carter next in. Went 2 for 9 in that series at South Carolina. As that pitch a little bit further outside for a ball. For whatever reason, Arkansas's first inning has been their best by a wide margin. They've scored 57 runs in the first. And it's obvious you can have this inning the one time that you kind of draw things up. You can send the 3 hitters you want to the plate, including Carter. But Arkansas has been able to get out in front of some teams and then allow their pitchers like Linestock to kind of carry that lead. And even the other day, Courtney Deifel said, we got to run early against South Carolina. I said, there's our run. Go ahead and make it hold up.
Well, to have that offensive spark has been so important because the pitching staff was the question mark for the Hawks coming into the year.
It's been a little bit backwards in that regard as Carter takes a strike, but you know, it's just part of the randomness of this game. Even in that South Carolina series, Courtney Deifel felt like they were outplayed in game 1. They won it. Felt like they played better, had more chances in game 2, and they lost it and had reverse outcomes.
Listen, the softball gods don't always make sense, Brett.
They never make sense, or rarely. Let's put it that way. 2 on a Carter is fouled at the plate.
You're talking about the early scoring, and it's so important across the country in this league where teams can do so much damage in a single inning. So you want to make sure that you are really capitalizing on every single opportunity you have. And the Alabama-Texas A&M series was a perfect example of that.
Next pitch on the way to Carter, able to foul one back to the screen.
First rise ball we've seen from Beaver. It's a good job by Carter to be able to catch up with it. That had a little extra zip on it.
Well, it sure did. And even just watching those games last weekend from Tuscaloosa, talking about that rise ball, I really enjoyed the scouting report that Michelle Smith gave. I'm gonna share it with you after this one, and certainly if we get another rise ball as well. We do not. But she said Beaver's kind of MO is energy at the top of the zone with just a whiff of pitches in the zone.
Having watched Kayla Beaver for 2 seasons prior to this one, I would agree with that assessment. She hasn't used the rise as much this year. We talked about the expanded repertoire of the drop ball.
Soft little flare is going to be caught at second base by Haviland. What a play. It looked like that was going to carry and drop.
What a play is right. Callie Haviland making what very likely could be the play of this series. Watch her track this. This is so difficult. She has to turn, makes the great first step that allows her to get there. Full extension. Wow, what a snag.
Right here when she turns that left shoulder, I didn't think she was going to be able to see it.
She may not have, to be completely honest. I've caught a couple of those like that in my life, and sometimes you just trust that your positioning is just good enough.
The pitch to Bree Ellis a little bit in for ball one. What a play.
Listen, if that's not on SportsCenter's top 10 somewhere, then something is wrong.
I would agree. This morning on SportsCenter's top 10, we had lacrosse and minor league baseball, and we had hockey. We had everything. So let's put that one in the nominee list. Bree Ellis takes that one over the inside corner for a called strike. Again, one home run, as Dorian mentioned, in the month of April. Arkansas does not play many midweek games. Courtney Deifel doesn't like to do that. So you get in these 2-1, 2-0 games. You get through the slugfest of a weekend series. You don't have those feel-good games of maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And Arkansas's numbers offensively haven't jumped off the page. They haven't hit a ton of home runs, but they've been resourceful enough to win the last 3 conference series.
It's really interesting when you have that conversation about the midweek games, because Missouri head coach Larissa Anderson was talking about how Missouri had been ravaged by midweek games coming into their series against Arkansas. Alabama, same boat. They haven't had the feel-good midweeks, and so they haven't been able to put those good games together.
Ellis clubs one a mile but foul. This one's through the tree out there in left. I don't know if it ever came down. It finally did. Like an Easter egg hunt. That ball was at the top of the tree. It rattled around at a few limbs and then dropped.
And the fans certainly thought it was out of here off the bat. Got a good swing on it, did Ellis. That was a screwball on the inner part of the plate. Just couldn't keep the hands enough behind the ball.
She's really been worked in, now worked down. Was that a swing? It was a foul tip and a strikeout. So no runs for the Razorbacks in the first. In fact, they go in order. Good start for Kayla Beaver and the Crimson Tide on every single road series over the last several years. Trying to take care of business at home in front of another great crowd. And this is Kendall Clark. She fouls one away to begin the second inning. You know me. I like Iowans in the building. We've got
I know you do.
In Kendall Clark.
Well, I thought Iowans weren't used to high-scoring affairs.
Depends if you're dropping 40 on a basketball game.
Well, that is true, yeah. My favorite statistic that I've ever seen was that Caitlin Clark, in her entire season this last year, outscored Iowa football for her entirety at Iowa.
I can attest that's the case. As Linestock misses, Kendall Clark, a couple of years in the junior college ranks. You see her numbers on the season. She had 101 RBIs in 56 JUCO games at DMAC, but what an athlete. What an all-around athlete at the high school level. I mean, she was a wrestler in addition to everything else that she put forth. So, you know, when you're able to concentrate on one sport, how it certainly allows somebody to really progress quickly.
And Patrick Murphy said that was the key for her, being able to focus just on softball. Her game bloomed enormously.
Basketball, wrestling, obviously softball for Kendall Clark. Big home run the other day in a comeback attempt against Texas A&M before. The Aggies ended up scoring 17 runs. A lot of those came late. That's a wave and a miss. It's picked up by Miller. She's going to have to fire to first to Ellis to complete the strikeout to begin the second inning.
Better sequencing there from Linestock to start off the inning to Clark. Really worked heavy down in the zone. Watch the drop ball break. You can see how it just falls off the table. Starts at about thigh high. By the time it gets past Clark, way out in front of it. That is Morgan Linestock's drop ball at its best.
You know, we're talking a lot about drop balls tonight and sequencing, as you mentioned, as Abby Dukeshire steps in. You think about all the innings these pitchers have thrown this year. And Beaver, she's obviously been a workhorse for Alabama, 123. Linestock had 103 at the beginning of the night. Linestock's given up 5 home runs all year, and Beaver's given up 3. So it's not as if they're leaving that pitch up in the zone where you might throw 7 innings and give up a solo home run or 2. They're keeping it in the park.
That's part of the benefit of being a drop ball pitcher. It is much more difficult to elevate a ball that's towards the bottom of the zone than it is with a ball that's already elevated with the rise, because that's the danger. If you miss as a rise ball pitcher, you'll leave it high and elevated.
Called strike to Dukeshire. 6 homers, 30 runs batted in for Alabama.
To finish that thought on the rise versus the drop, I think back to the game that you and I did here a few years ago between Arkansas and Liberty. And Mary Half pitched that game and had the rise ball that was hit out by Liberty that ended up being the game winner.
In like the 10th or the 20th or the 30th inning.
It certainly felt like it. I think it was the 13th, but.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Dukeshire. This has been an important hitter in this Alabama lineup. Pitch from Leinstock is chopped foul. Young lady last year had just 5 starts, had 9 hits. So for her to be at that 6 home run, 30 RBI plateau for a team that quite honestly could use a little bit more offensively, it's been well received. Leinstock has struck out 2. Updating, she's now struck out 3. There's times, though, from where we sit, I have a hard time with the changeup versus the drop ball because her changeup comes in firm. The drop ball has a little break. Which one was this?
That's a drop ball, and
right.
you can tell because of the velocity. The changeup has, yeah, you can see definitely by the trajectory that's, I will give you from the center field cam, it's a lot harder to tell. The changeup has a little bit of a float action to it, but that drop ball has that really tight spin.
This is Hevelin. She had an outstanding defensive play just last inning. 5 homers on her season. When Mary Half, though, used to throw her changeup, I mean, it would stop for refueling at some point. The hitters could swing twice. Her changeup's a little bit different, but that drop ball has been a pitch that has just had incredibly late movement.
Oh, the changeup has the ability to be the most devastating pitch in college softball, and every pitcher throws it a little bit differently. You talk about Mary Half's, her disparity between her hard stuff and her off speed, you're talking 15 plus miles an hour. Now Morgan Leinstock's is typically 8 to 10, but still when you're sitting on tight down, it's really hard to adjust.
It skipped right by Miller to the backstop.
And I can speak from experience, I was not a good off-speed hitter. I can only think of once in my college career where I actually hit a changeup for extra bases.
You were just
I hope I'm forgetting some, but
bases empty, 2 outs. Leinstock would like to strike out the side. She will do just that. She carried Clark, Dukeshire, and Hevelin.
Pitchers were able to do. Dels was certainly incredible. That's also Montana Fouts, where she got injured ahead of the NCAA tournament, giving big Kirk Gibson vibes, where she came back and pitched her way through that. I mean, that series is the epitome of what you expect from premier collegiate teams.
There's no doubt about it. A 10-inning game in Tuscaloosa to decide a series was something. Halverson rolls one up the middle, backhanded by Hevelin. The throw's late, and Halverson has now hit in 8 straight games. Dorian, she's 11 for her last 20. A couple of weeks ago, she was batting 9th. Now she's batting cleanup.
Right now, Halverson just seeing the ball so well is on the outside of the plate. She takes it off the end of the barrel of the bat. Hevelin makes a great read on it, able to get to it, but Halverson runs well. It looked like it may have been tipped and slowed down just a bit off of the edge of Beaver's glove, but Arkansas with their first leadoff batter on.
Here's Hannah Gamble. She's reached in 10 straight. Smokes one foul outside of third base. Just finishing the thought, though, on Delson Fouts and how much fun that was a year ago. Again, both went 10 innings in that game on Monday. It was during the conference tournament. I was standing on the concourse down the left field line. I'm standing next to a guy, and he goes, "You're familiar looking." And I said, "Well, yes, I'm a familiar looking guy." And he goes,
"It's
well,
always a scary statement to start off with."
"And your voice sounds familiar." And I said, "Well, you know, you're probably a Razorback fan. You know, I do a few of these games here." And the next one to Gamble is in. He goes, "Nope, that's not it." He goes, "You broadcast my daughter's game several years ago in a youth event." And I do a lot of these youth tournaments in the summer. And I go, "Okay, narrow it down." He goes, "Well, I'm Montana's father, and you called her game when she was 15 years old or 14. I said, "That's right, we did."
What do you know?
That night here in the tournament. It's a strike over the outside corner, but that's the night that she got injured. That was a big win for Alabama, though. Arkansas, of course, it was disappointing to win the conference tournament a couple of years ago and not be able to get that win here at home, and huge crowds, and it was after midnight. But you talk about 4 big-time games. When you play a 10-inning game and a 9-inning game and a 4-game season series.
So, you talk about how disappointing it was for Arkansas to not be able to build on winning the conference tournament like they did a few years ago. Alabama has positioned themselves as the premier team in the league.
It's down to Gamble.
And Arkansas, for all the success that they've had under Courtney Deifel, they're still trying to reach that peak of what Alabama has been able to do. So to have those type of epic battles, that's a real indication of Arkansas and the Razorbacks and where they are in the tier of teams, not just in the conference, but in the country.
That's a good point. Here's the payoff to Gamble, and that is down for a ball 4, so an infield single and a walk. And the Razorbacks have a couple of base runners against Beaver.
Hannah Gamble, such a disciplined hitter. She knows the zone so well out of the hand. That ball did stay low, very close. But I love the way when Hannah Gamble takes ball 4, she's immediately gone down to first with so much confidence, like, I dare you to call strike 3 on me.
Here's Kennedy Miller. She'll take strike 1. Miller had a bounce-back series against South Carolina. The freshman went 3 for 9. She had gone 1 for 16 in the 2 previous series, and Courtney Deifel said she really was a little bit down and didn't think she was performing. We thought, hey, overall, she's still fine. We were here a couple of weeks ago where she smokes a ball into the parking lot. They reviewed that Carter left first early. She did. They take the home run off the board. And by the way, your sport needs to figure that out because that's too punitive.
You and Patrick Murphy are in agreement on that point.
I mean, we saw it happen. There's a little comebacker, and the throw's going to go to third, and Beaver gets the out. I was worried for Beaver with her body looking towards second or short that she might just throw that one away. She was moving in one direction, throwing in another.
It had the looks of that in real time, but a good job by Beaver. You can see the little laugh and smile there. Had to collect herself. She immediately turned to second as if to turn a double play, recognized that she had time to get Halverson at third, readjusted, and delivered the strong throw. The key in those situations is to not panic. You have more time than you think, and a throw always moves faster than a runner.
Here's Reagan Kramer. Kramer was 0 for 8 last weekend against South Carolina. She came up in her last at bat, hit a 2-run triple, turned a 1-0 Razorback lead into a 3-0 advantage. Good way to finish the weekend. Big spot here as she takes a strike. I would just say, though, with that, the new thing is reviewing runners leaving early. If they don't call it on the field and we go to replay, you can call the runner out, but that home run needs to stand. It happened. The ball was delivered. The ball was hit.
Yes and no. It's the chicken and the egg theory. So I was doing a game in Conway I was doing a series last weekend with North Alabama and Central Arkansas, and in the deciding game 3, North Alabama had 2 runners called out for leaving early that erased runs. And I agree that it's an imperfect system because leaving early is something like holding. You can call it every play.
But you can understand when there's a ground ball to short and that runner leaves early. We can't assume there would be an out at second because when the ball goes over the fence, we all see it.
Right, but by the letter of the law, because the ball has not been released yet, when the runner leaves the base, then the pitch has not happened because it wasn't moving forward out of the hand.
There's a wave and a miss by Kramer. Big second out of the inning. I would say if you're shooting free throws and I know you're going to miss and I jump in the lane early and you miss, they don't count the free throw. They give you another opportunity.
I'm not saying that I agree with the rule as Kramer goes down on strikes, which is something that she doesn't do very often, but Beaver going back to that drop ball. I'm just giving you why it is the way it is.
What it's done, though, is it's messed up the game this year with all of these replay reviews. Now teams are starting to review just for the opportunity.
And
maybe.
That I don't agree with. If it's not egregious, then you shouldn't be looking for it.
Because if it's egregious, it's normally called on the field.
Exactly, which I guess technically would go back to your original point.
Well, meanwhile, the second inning continues. Arkansas had a couple of quick base runners, but Kayla Beaver doing what she normally does, kind of zoning in to get a couple of big outs and now trying to retire Hedgecock, who's batting 8th in this Razorback lineup.
Beaver has always been so calm in the circle, and you're seeing that again on display here.
2-strike pitch, painted on the inside corner, and Beaver bounces back. A base hit and a walk, and then she sets down 3 in a row. And just as we expected, tough and tight through 2 at Bogle.
Program.
This is Riley Valentine to begin the top of the 3rd inning.
And you have to remember that Coach Deifel started that before the transfer portal era, before you're able to bring in all these new players and play immediately, because it takes years. You have to recruit a really special type of person who's willing to come in and play for a team that may only win 1 game.
Yeah, you're selling vision at that point.
Exactly.
And now you're selling a little bit different package of success.
Yeah, the recruiting comes a lot easier when you go, hey, we've been to the NCAA tournament in 3 straight years, and we won an SEC tournament, and we've gone to hosted super regionals. That's a much easier recruiting pitch.
And we play in front of 10 to 11,000 fans every conference weekend. That doesn't hurt either. Crowds of nearly 4,000, and tonight It's Taylor Swift night, so I'm not sure what type of fun we have for the tortured poets.
I was going to say, when you can have the fun themes as well, that definitely doesn't hurt, especially to the generation coming up next.
Next pitch, tap foul again. Couple of Arizona natives going at it right here. Linestock from Scottsdale, Valentine from Phoenix. Here we go. That's a Swiftie.
Without a doubt. I would venture to guess that 75% of the fans here tonight are Swifties.
Little dribbler. Linestock has had problems throwing the ball to first. She tried to go with her glove. There was a round to first base, and safe as Ellis tried to lunge back and get Valentine. It has been a crazy adventure this year for Morgan. She's tried to underhand ball. She's tried to overhand. It's been loopy. It's been interesting. This time she tried to shovel with the glove on a soft comebacker, and that didn't work either.
Off-speed tapper. Linestock had enough time, too. Valentine runs well. I'm surprised that she tried the glove flip, because typically you see that with players that have a little bit more speed. She had time just to collect and shovel. But again, pitchers, it's one of those mental block things. Sometimes when they start the season and can't get that throw down, it just spirals.
It does. Like John Lester of the Cubs, if you're a big league fan. And
Chuck Knobloch?
Well, that too, but Lester wouldn't even throw to first on pickoffs because it was in his head, and Valentine will reach on the air. There was a little bump with Ellis, and then Valentine rounded first. Ellis realized that, tried to tag her. Had she been a step quicker, who knows? And White tries to bunt.
Certainly no fault of Ellis. It's a very chaotic situation when you're trying to determine where's the ball, where's the runner. The most important thing that Ellis did, though, in that situation is securing the ball, because if it gets past you with Alabama's aggressive base running philosophy, Valentine would have already been on her way to second.
Chop it to third. Gamble's got a tremendous arm, so she'll get the lead runner at second base with a strike to Halverson. When you play in, you field it cleanly, and you've got an arm, it prevents or at least presents another option, and Gamble took it at second base.
What an absolute cannon. I love watching Hannah Gamble play third base. She always looks loose, powerful, in control, and that arm you talked about, it presents opportunities. It's such an eraser over at third base where it can erase lead base runners. That is so huge after that error.
Back to the top of the lineup for Cahalan. She had a single up the middle, swiped to base, was left stranded at third, back in the first. She's the only runner who has advanced to third so far in our game. Socked to right, but in a couple of steps is Nia Carter. She'll make the catch, route number 2.
Off the bat, that looked good off of Cahalan, but she pulls across the ball instead of extending through. That's why you see those fly balls that look great. They have that big arc coming off of the bat, but then they kind of die midway through the outfield. And you'll hear hitting coaches nowadays, they talk very similar to baseball about the backspin, hitting the bottom of the ball in that trajectory, being able to cut it in half. When you pull across the side, that's when those weak fly balls die.
Lauren Johnson struck out back in the first, one of 4 strikeout victims against Linestock so far in the game. Just 50 at-bats so far in the year. She's been bothered by the injury bug just a bit. That one gets away from Miller. Wild pitches have been prevalent this year at times, and that's a big one because it'll advance the Speedy White in a scoring position.
It's one of the things that Kennedy Miller has done so well this year for a freshman being put in this situation is she has been, for the most part, a wall. But the most difficult part about catching a drop ball pitcher is you have to know where their misses are, because that allows you to have that little extra sense of where it's going.
Yeah, read that ball down or in the dirt. Good pitch from Linestock.
Well, that's something that Courtney Deifel works on specifically. Of course, Coach Deifel was a catcher when she played at Cal, was a phenomenal catcher.
Miller's done a really nice job in all aspects of the game. It's not easy catching someone like Linestock, and that one is tap fouled outside of third base.
The pass balls and the wild pitches were a big issue last year as well, with Dels and having that question mark behind the plate. Hannah Gamble started there last year, and then Lauren Camazin worked back there, and so they've been trying to shore that up over the last 2 seasons.
Big pitch to Lauren Johnson here in the third inning. Rides up and out. A
2-2 hitters count. Linestock trying to paint the outside corner. Just felt like she overthrew that a little bit. It had too much movement with still being flat. It didn't really have the break that she wanted.
Here's a payoff. Fouled right off her knee. I think that got her up near the kneecap than it did the ankle. And Johnson will limp around a bit, try and walk that one off. Good luck.
Just underneath the knee in that top shin area. It's cold for Fayetteville this time of year, a little blustery today, so that always makes it feel, in my estimation, like 5 to 10% worse.
Overcast, but we like the no wind. Well, that was an interesting foul ball. Johnson turned on it, almost hit it directly behind her.
It was an off speed, and Johnson got fooled. She did a great job to be able to even catch a piece. You're right, she's so far out in front of this ball.
She did a complete spin like a top.
Nearly hit it all the way into the Arkansas dugout.
And another 3-2. Fouled another one off her ankle. She fouled 2 balls off her kneecap or her leg and fouled one almost directly back into the screen. Let's see how much she spun on this one. I mean, she did almost completely turned around.
A really good image there of how far out in front of that ball Johnson was on that off speed.
Pretty good battle. Yet another payoff pitch on the ground sharply to Cammonson and short. She's got it. Throws out Johnson to end the inning. So the Crimson Tide strand another runner.
No such thing. But you have that little bit of nervousness in that in-state rivalry when you go back to that 2021 game, as that's a strike on the outside corner. That's the first time those two schools had ever played. And so you take some of the nerves out, and she gets more comfortable as her career goes along. And you've really seen Kayla Beaver blossom over the last 2 seasons.
She's facing Lauren Cammonson here in the 3rd inning. And you might say, there's a liner right to second to Hevelin. That ball found her for the first out. Hey, wasn't Arkansas interested in somebody who performed so well against them? They were. And Courtney Deifel said, you can't out-recruit a dream, because as Beaver told Alabama when they called her, hey, we've been coming to football games 2 or 3 a year every year. She was an Alabama fan. This was her dream school.
Yeah, Kayla Beaver always dreamed of playing at Alabama. And I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine there wasn't an SEC school that wasn't interested in Kayla Beaver when she went into the portal. You and I were talking before the broadcast. When she entered the portal last year, I thought that she would potentially end up at Tennessee to replace Ashley Rogers, because they needed an ace coming in, but she found her home at Alabama, and clearly it's been a match made in heaven.
No doubt. You know, replacing Montana Fouts is really a tall order, and we'll talk more about some of the comings and goings of big-time pitchers in the SEC over the last year or more. But having that Friday night and sometimes a Sunday night or Sunday afternoon pitcher that can be a lockdown is so very important. There's a comebacker in the Speedy Johnson, retired by
you're doing something right. And what's impressed me the most about Beaver is how well she adjusted to playing at an SEC level day in and day out. Now, watching her over the last few years, I'm not surprised at all, but sometimes there are some growing pains, especially when you feel like maybe you have to prove that you belong there a little bit more.
Of course, throwing a no-hitter in your first start might help.
That does go a long way to calm a lot of the potential nerves.
They felt like once the lights got bright and they flipped them on, that Beaver, she was ready. I don't know what the fall looked like. Maybe it wasn't quite as dominant, but all of a sudden, once they cranked up the season back in February, it was there. 1-1 the count to Nia Carter. Little dribbler. Can she beat this one out? And she will. How about career hit number 267 for Nia Carter on a swinging bunt?
Carter, maybe not her most powerful hit, but it's just as effective. She's got great speed. Look at how she gets out of the box. As soon as she recognizes that she tops it into the ground, she reaches top speed in about 2 steps. That allows her to really propel herself down the line. And Carter is one of those players. She batted for the majority of her career leadoff at Iowa.
Holy feedback. What do we review?
Alabama is reviewing that the ball hit the batter off the foot in the box.
Okay. I was going to say maybe it evened out for Carter. Remember, she had that flare to right that looked like it was a base hit, and Hevelin made an incredible diving catch in the first. Then she had a swinging bunt that went for a hit, but it will be reviewed.
So I didn't
our
see
first look.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in real time, but
A lot of dirt there, but did it hit again?
So what you're looking for in this situation is you want to see if the ball changes spin or trajectory. That would indicate that it hits off something. I don't see anything.
This is going to be a quick review.
Yeah, I don't see anything there. And maybe worth a challenge, but I don't see anything there that would indicate that it hit Carter as she was moving out of the box.
Should be a quick one.
The ruling on the field is upheld. The ball did not go off the batter's foot.
I could have told you that.
We did.
We did. There was a lot of dirt displaced right between the 2 feet of Nia Carter.
Carter really, when the ball comes off of the bat, it hits about the only place that it could have without popping
That's
back
right.
up to hit her. So we talked about the softball gods rarely making sense, but sometimes when they taketh away, they also giveth.
Sometimes they break even. Here's Bree Ellis. Was that a swing? Did she offer? Alabama wants an appeal. No swing, says Tatum Stolting at first.
I thought it was more of a swing than the last one, but
I did too. But nonetheless, maybe again we're evening out. I'm not sure. Ellis struck out back in the first. 13 homers, 42 knocked in. It's amazing how teams have pitched her, whether they're coming in, they're going low, they're working the parameters of the zone, doing everything you possibly can to stay away from that hot spot in the middle.
I keep going back to that Missouri series, but in talking to Larissa Anderson, she actually called Bree Ellis the scariest hitter in college softball.
It is a mile-high pop-up, no wind, so it should be an easier play for Cahalan right inside the circle. She'll make the catch in the inning.
Also,
I would agree.
as a head coach, you need to have that coach that can be that person, so you don't always have to be the bad guy.
Rose got her image, her likeness is up on the fence out there in Alabama. I mean, it's nice when they retire your number, but when they put your picture on the wall, that's pretty big. And give you the first 2-time All-American in school history. Tell you what, she's working hard. I saw her more as a Georgia assistant than I have as an Arkansas assistant. Everybody's in the hitting cages, in the offices, paperwork, doing work, whatever it is. As Jenna Johnson leads off the 4th inning.
And of course, the work is not going to stop for, I guess I should call her Danielle Wharton now instead
That's
of Gibby,
right.
but she's going to be back with AU over the summer.
She is. Maybe on Team USA as well. Pitch is high to Jenna Johnson.
And Paris Games just a few months away. The Olympic torch was just lit the other day in Olympia, making its way to Paris.
Countdown is on now. Heart of the lineup for the Crimson Tide in the 4th inning. Just 3 hits combined to this point, and that one fouled back and out of play. It's an Alabama team that's lost series to Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and A&M. 1 series win, that was against Ole Miss. This would be a huge one, though, for Alabama. Get them back to the break-even point in conference play. Give them a chance then to win a series with at least 1 more this weekend.
That was a good job there by Johnson, hanging tough on the off speed. As you take a look at the results, the ones that surprise me at Kentucky's always a little bit of an enigma because you don't know what you're going to get with the Wildcats week in and week out. And then, of course, last weekend against Texas A&M was just wild.
A&M still scoring in that middle game of that series.
Well, when you take a look at the numbers, if you just look at the box scores, you feel like Alabama got blown out. But if you watch the games, that's really not the case. The Crimson Tide had multiple opportunities to win Game 2 and Game 3. It was just a hit or two away.
There's a hard one hopper, backhanded by Cammonson. She'll throw out Johnson to begin the 4th inning. We just saw Coach Murphy. He was being interviewed in Game 2, and they were down 6 or 7 runs. He said, don't turn the channel. We're coming back. And my goodness, they did. The problem was A&M was far from done scoring either. And they took advantage of some errors and some mistakes. And I got a feeling this was a week where they spent a lot of time working on defense.
You don't have to have a feeling. He straight up told us this
Okay.
was a week that they spent a lot of time working. It wasn't just defense. He said they worked situationally with runners so that they could mimic what they were going to see.
Another ground ball to Cammonson. Been a handful of different shortstops this year for Arkansas. Lauren getting the chance today and made a couple of plays here in the 4th inning. Yeah, they were not pleased with some of their breakdowns. And again, this is a wise statement. You can't give a team 4 outs in this league with errors, and whether it's mental mistakes, whether it's just breakdowns. when they're makeable plays, that's even more frustrating. And then you got to find a way to try and overcome it. In a 7-inning game, sometimes that's not possible.
Timely errors also play into that factor, but you take a look at that statistic there at the bottom, 3 series with 7 or more errors. That is a huge reason why they've only won the 1 series against Ole Miss.
Kendall Clark fouled one back. Yeah, I think he used the term atrocious, right, when he came to defense, and I mean, that would apply.
I also liked what he said, though, about not beating the team up and not running them to death. He said that's never been his philosophy. He said, I don't need to let them know that they played poorly on defense. They already know.
It's about fixing things at some point. 0-1 to Clark. Camenson's going to make that play again. Did she get it at first? No. Well, I think the throw was going to beat Clark to the base, but Ellis had to come off the bag just a bit. Otherwise, Camenson would have made 3 plays that inning.
I agree with you. The throw actually did look like it was going to get there in time, but Camenson's momentum on the pickup forced her to be just a little bit off target. This ball has so much backspin. It just absolutely dies. Camenson does a nice job to be able to get in front of it, but you can see she's falling away off of that right side, and so to be able to deliver a strong throw, she just can't quite get it on target, pulls Ellis off of the bag.
Continues this inning for Abby Dukeshire.
That error, though, by Camenson speaks directly to what you were just saying about Alabama. That was the Achilles heel against Texas A&M. You get 2 outs, you make an error, and then the Aggies did a really good job of taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, they did so in a big way. Good low pitch from Linestock, but not called a strike. A little bit below the knees. Counts 2-0. They did score a base hit for Clark.
Well, then someone needs to tell the people in this big board out in center field.
I was going back between stat broadcast and the scoreboard, and they were different. So we'll see. Regardless, the inning continues. Linestock still below 70 on the pitch count. Some accounting irregularities.
Well, I will amend my statement. When you give teams extra opportunities, bad things can happen.
2-1. Well, she's going to get another chance. This time, the throw is true. Helps to have Ellis on that bag at first. And the inning ends. Crimson.
It might as well read as a list of potential hosting sites. When you take a look at the RPI in the top 20, you have 11 of the 13 teams in the league in the top 25.
Halverson with a pop-up, and it's on the tarp and not caught. Halverson has one of the 2 hits for the Razorbacks. I would say this about the conference tournament, though, at Auburn. Alabama, no joke intended, they're going to be really tired of Auburn. They finished the regular season there for 3 games. Then they go back for the conference tournament.
At least it's a short trip.
It is a short trip.
Maybe a home away from home feeling? Maybe.
Beaver to Halverson. It's outside.
Listen, I've played a couple of games on the Plains. I'm sure they've upgraded it since the last time I was there, but it was a nice facility.
Those teams don't really care for each other that much to begin.
I mean, in the SEC, it feels though like every weekend it has that little contentiousness to it. Now, I know Alabama and Auburn's a little bit more.
Two balls and a strike to Halverson. Her base hit back in the second. Means she's 11 for her last 20. About a month ago, her batting average was at 263. Now she's up over 310. Clubs one in the air. Towards the track in right center. White will get there to make the play. I thought maybe that ball had a little more carry. No wind today. Halverson didn't quite get all of it. And she's out to begin the 4th inning.
Dead calm means that ball stays in the park because Bogle is a home run hitter's park. Good job by White to track it down. Took a great first step, able to get there easily. Halverson just missing a home run by about a fraction of an inch on the backside of that ball.
Here's Gamble. You see she walked in the second. It's an Arkansas team dead last in the league in walks. They don't do it often, and they won't do it here. Base hit from Gamble up the middle. Beaver has walked more already this year than she did last year. Arkansas, though, not a team to take a lot of pitches, and Hannah Gamble found one to her liking.
Arkansas goes hunting, first pitch swinging. Hannah Gamble going up with a purpose. Ball on the outer third of the plate. It was a curve that did not break as much as Beaver wanted it to. Gamble takes advantage. You talk about the walk numbers, and there's 2 sides to that. One, Beaver's walk numbers a little bit elevated because of the caliber of hitter she's facing.
As Miller fouls one away.
And then you talk about Halverson with her numbers and how they've elevated over the last month, and it really brings in the broader conversation about drawing walks, because when I was a hitter and I was mired in a slump, one of the things that I tried to do is I tried to draw a walk in my first at bat. Situational, considerations, but I would always try to take as many pitches as I could in my first at bat so I could see as many and get as much information as possible.
I think your fear is when you're not hitting the ball to your liking that maybe you're making it out on a pitch early in the count that's a little bit up or a little bit out or down.
And that's why I would try to see as many as I could early, because if you're not striking out a ton but you're still not getting on base, you're putting the ball in play, but it might not be the right pitch and the right count.
Next one to Miller. That's a really good pitch from Beaver. She's worked that a few times to these right-handed power hitters, kind of coming in out of those hands where you can't get extended.
I've always thought that Beaver's screwball is one of the best in the country. That break and her ability to keep it on the inner half of the plate, too. It's not something that's going to tail all the way in. She has the ability to just paint the corner.
Hard hit on the ground to short. Can the Tide get two? They will not, but a nice attempt. Haviland has been instrumental in turning a few double plays this year, and that was hit hard right at Cahalan. But Miller able to beat it out, but now two gone in the inning.
The duo of Cahalan and Haviland up the middle has been so good all year. You can see why their communication and Haviland, the footwork around the bag is so good. Miller runs just well enough to beat it out. That was very close at first.
And this is a team, Alabama, they're 12th in fielding percentage. So this has been part of what we discussed earlier. Made that play. Kramer with a soft pop-up. Haviland's everywhere. She'll make that catch, and the inning ends. 4 innings.
Nope. Teams never was able to do it, and Alabama said, no, this national championship, you belong with me, and it belongs in the SEC. This is a power conference.
A breakthrough of sorts as Haviland waves and misses to begin the 5th inning. And, of course, they talked about Coach Murphy going to LSU and taking that job for a day and then coming back and being with this team that they thought could do so much damage, and they did. But I'm sure it was a special weekend in Tuscaloosa as Haviland bunts that one foul just to have so many of the players back. And listen, when they're making documentaries about you or your teams or your seasons, you know it's an incredibly special season.
It may not be the only one. He did say that when they left, they thought they had enough footage for maybe a 3-part series.
Wow.
So,
all right. 2-strike pitch, caught on a missed. Down goes Haviland. Strikeout number 5 for Linestock.
And Linestock's reaction after that tells me she is fired up. Another drop ball. This one starts the knees, falls off the table. And when Linestock is feeling it, as you see Haviland out in front, off balance on that front foot as she waves at the drop ball. When Linestock is really dialed in, you get that little fiery fist pump after every strikeout.
This is Valentine, who reached on an error by Linestock when she fielded a check swing comebacker and tried to flip it with her glove. Mentioned a few times, though, this is Taylor Swift night here at Bogle Park. Her album was released, I think, just yesterday. Now, apparently...
Technically, it was last night because it was, what, 2 a.m., 3 a.m.?
2 a.m.
Yep.
Now, they tell me, and I'm not a Swiftie, that the 5th track is the most personal one, where she shares her stories on her songs that are on the 5th track. Well, we're in the 5th inning here of Taylor Swift night with no runs coming across yet. So will this be the most personal inning? Will this be the most impactful inning? Maybe there might be a swing and a miss and a base runner. So Valentine will K but reach on the wild pitch.
A couple of interesting at-bats for Riley Valentine. Reached on the air, reaches on the strikeout that kicks away from Miller. Another drop ball. Miller just not able to corral it as she's sliding to the side. Good recognition from Valentine. As soon as she realizes that ball went away, she is hustling down the line to first and easily there without a throw. Just the right side of the field. You can see how in Hannah Gamble is playing at third base. White has to keep the ball away from her.
She's going to bunt, but bunts one foul. What was the line Coach used in regards to White, talking about her athleticism? I have to talk her into being great?
Yes.
I like that. Maybe doesn't realize quite the potential she might have with her athletic ability, but you could see where if she serves this ball past Gamble, even with Cammonson playing in, maybe has a chance to beat it. Kind of chopped at that one, came up empty.
At that time, White was reading the defense. Gamble was already drawn in for the bunt attempt, took an extra 2 steps in line with the pitch. She was right on top of White, so White trying to catch her by surprise and maybe chop one, drive one past her.
Gamble's never afraid to come creeping into third base. That's Byer towards Cammonson. There's an out at second. No chance to get White. Arkansas has turned a ton of double plays this year, but they were happy to get the lead runner. And Cammonson's been busy at shortstop in these last few innings.
Cammonson has fielded the shortstop position well. Last year, that role primarily went to Italia Rio, hasn't been available this year. Cammonson came in as a utility player. She could slot in at shortstop, third base, catching. Has really found herself a home here in the second half of the season.
Back to the top of the lineup for Cahalan. She's singled, she's flied to right, gets a pitch to hit and socks it out towards Johnson. Somewhat perfect positioning at the inning.
1-0 on the batter. How about the zoom on that camera,
That's
though?
nice. I like it.
That's a whole new meaning of picture-in-picture.
Hedgecock, Cammonson, and Johnson. 8, 9, and 1 in the bottom of the fifth. Hedgecock's going to pop up the first pitch, and it'll be caught by Dukeshire. And that's the first out. You know, Coach Murphy was a lot of fun to talk to this week. He was talking about the 4 stages to a season, Dorian. You want to take a crack at explaining those?
The 4 stages to the season: forming, norming, storming, and performing. In the beginning of the season, you get there in the fall, you're meeting everyone, your team forming. You are learning what you are. That leads you into norming. As you say, this is just who we are. This is Brett's quirk. That's just how he is. We love him anyway. It's okay. And then storming, and he said storming was the series against Texas A&M. It's when it starts to rain, things go bad. How do you react to that? He said why he feels like his teams have been so successful over the last 2+ decades is what a snag over at first by Dukeshire. She is performing, and that's where he wants his teams to be at the end of the season.
Indeed, performing. That was almost perfectly timed. Broadfoot's played some first, but she's had a shoulder injury, I think, from a collision. Dukeshire, that's going to be a base hit. That's going to be by her and by Hevelin. It's the second time in this game a team that struggled with their defense has made plays to take hits away from the Hawks.
Alabama looking super solid in the field. Brett, that wouldn't have just been a hit. That's a double down the line. Cammonson does run well. I'm not sure that Deifel would have tried to push that into a potential triple, but that's definitely going for extra bases.
So instead, 2 outs for Reagan Johnson, who's 0 for 2.
You talked about the walks and how Arkansas is dead last in taking walks in the conference, and Reagan Johnson has not walked once in conference play, and she puts the ball in play a ton. I would love to see as a leadoff hitter those walks tick up just a bit.
Makes me wonder what her batting average would be with 10 or 15 walks, because again, she's in the top 15 in the league in batting average. She's not that far away from being at 380 or 390 and doesn't have the benefit of a lot of the walks like a Reagan Kramer does.
Right, and she just puts so much pressure on the defense with her speed. Even if you get 1 walk a weekend out of her, that's just an extra opportunity that Arkansas has to put runners in motion.
2 outs and 2 strikes. Able to chop 1 foul. Arkansas has not had a runner reach third base in this game. Hopeful maybe of getting something going in this 5th, but Kayla Beaver has only thrown 63 pitches.
Incredibly efficient from Beaver. She's really peppered the strike zone and really attacked Arkansas.
She threw 118 on Sunday after throwing 101 last Friday, so a week with 219 pitches. Very economical and efficient today, and obviously defense has been a big part, I think, of both. The pitch count last weekend and what they've done to help her tonight. And a 1-2 to Reagan Johnson. Able to check and take that one out of the zone.
First time through the lineup, Beaver was really working that screwball to the outer part of the plate. This time through, this will be the 3rd time through for the Razorbacks. Now Beaver's starting to work in. You saw her go north with the rise ball, down with the drop ball. She's really trying to work all 4 quadrants to keep Arkansas off balance.
Slapped out to left. It'll drop in front of Johnson for a base hit. So Johnson in front of Johnson. And Reagan won that battle. Had to foul off a few. She got down in the count, but comes through against Kayla Beaver.
Coming up with a 2-strike single just by virtue of fighting it off. A little undercut as she sliced through the ball. It was in off of the hands. Supposed to be a curveball which would break in on the lefty. Able to fight it off and drop the bloop single into shallow left. That's what impresses me so much. We talk about the speed when it comes to Reagan Johnson, but her hand control is great.
Carter to bunt. And the throw to first is in time. Hevelin got over to cover. screwball from Beaver as a right-handed hitter.
Is there any pitch that you are hitting?
I might hope that you leave your up ball or your rise ball in the heart of the plate, or maybe I can wait on your changeup. I'm not hitting the screwball, and I'm not hitting the drop ball.
So you are the type of hitter that you don't want to throw the changeup to because that might be your only shot.
Against this duo, maybe. Heart of the lineup for Bama in the top of the 6th. A bunt back to the circle. Linestock's going to have to fire a low throw, and Halverson didn't catch it. And the throwing woes, again, you hate to belabor that, but it has been such an issue. She didn't have time to think about it, but she went and offered a throw. Halverson couldn't catch it cleanly. I'm not sure if she does, Dorian, if Johnson's still safe.
I think if it's caught cleanly that she is safe, but it's so close. We take another look.
And as a second baseman, you can't extend, right? If you're at the bag, you can reach and go get that throw. It's probably going to be an out. You're trying to arrive and catch at the same time and find the base.
You do have to time that correctly, and I think it's a smart idea from Alabama because they will have scouted Linestock's throwing issues.
That bunt is popped up. Ellis with the catch, and Johnson scrambles back in. Now that's a big break for Arkansas, maybe, that Jenna Johnson popped up the bunt.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's a huge break for Arkansas. Johnson was trying to push that bunt towards the right side of the field, ended up tipping the barrel of the bat down instead of forward. That's what caused the pop-up.
It's going to be an E4 on Halverson to begin this inning, and this is Downing. Remember last year against Arkansas, she went 4 for 8 with a couple of doubles in Tuscaloosa and had the go-ahead 2-run double in extra innings in the tournament here to beat the Razorbacks. 1 on, 1 out. And another one fouled off a leg or a kneecap.
I agree with you. You don't want to belabor the errors. But in a game that has been the way it is with its nip and tuck, that's how slim the margins are, and you can't continue to give your opponents, whether you're Alabama or Arkansas, extra opportunities.
2-strike pitch, softly fouled back over the screen. These pitchers have been so good, they've been able to overcome a few of the mistakes. You wonder as you get later into a game like this if that might be how a game is decided.
And you go back to the conversation that we had with Patrick Murphy when he was reviewing and giving the post-mortem on the series against Texas A&M. He said we cannot make our pitchers get 4 outs in an inning.
Maybe a chance for a double play here. Halverson with the flip on the first, not in time. I thought Halverson might attack the runner Johnson when she stopped to see if she could get a tag and then throw on the run. Regardless, it was going to be tough to get 2. And another ground ball out here tonight.
Halverson makes the smart play over to the right side of the field. Johnson stutter steps to try and make that distraction, but Halverson remains calm, gets the out at first, or gets the out at second rather, and there was never a chance that you were going to turn 2.
No, the one thing though, if you make Johnson turn and backpedal, and this is Clark, then maybe you throw to first and get the rundown between first and second, but that's a split-second decision.
It's a split-second decision, and rundowns are always a little bit dicey because you just never know. You always want to avoid rundowns when you can. You work on them a ton, so they should be solid, but it's one of those situations where, if you put it in someone else's hands, you just don't know what the outcome is.
Clark will take and look at ball 2. She had an infield single in the 4th. One of 2 of Alabama's hits. Just 6 total in this game. Have we had an extra base hit tonight? I don't believe we have. All singles. On a night when the conditions are hitter friendly, but the pitchers have said, phooey to that. We don't care.
The best struck ball we've seen was Halverson's fly out to deep center field.
Linestock really doesn't want to issue a walk to Clark with the dangerous Dukeshire on deck, but it's 3-0. There's the strike.
So 3-1, 2 outs with a runner on first. If I'm Clark here, I am really looking for something that I can go after and attack because of what you just said. I know Linestock doesn't want to give up a walk and put 2 runners on in this situation in the 6th.
3-1 pitch. Bounces away from Miller. That'll be ball 4. First walk of the night issued by Linestock. So it does push a runner into scoring position for Alabama with 2 outs. And they will use a pinch runner. Kinley Pate is going to run for Downing. The most on this team. Pretty decent pitch to hit, but she'll take it for strike one on the inside corner.
Dusher hitting 250 with runners in scoring position, 243 with 2 outs. Those are good numbers for that situation.
A called strike 2.
Off speed.
Well, that pitch floated.
Yeah, it goes upstairs with the off speed. It floated a little bit more, and Dusher looked caught off balance,
Yes.
kind of half waved at it.
Linestock hasn't thrown that pitch much tonight. 0-2. She went with it again.
Even though Linestock hasn't thrown the off-speed very often, the one that caught the check swing, it wasn't a well-executed changeup either, so sometimes it has that element in it as well, when it's maybe the pitch you're looking for, but it's not. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Fans looking for that third strike or that third out. In the air to center. Back goes Johnson, still running, nearing the track. She's got it, inning over. A well-struck ball, but out number 3.
Series wins versus losses. Arkansas has had series wins. Alabama only has the one sweep against Ole Miss. Arkansas has just picked up a couple extra wins here and there in conference play.
Bree Ellis fouls one back and out of play. You know, Bree made a couple of swing changes when she came here. I think in some senses, maybe not as open in the box, a little more closed, more plate coverage than at Auburn, and she wanted to be more than a power hitter. She wanted more singles than doubles. I would say that's great. This might be an opportunity where you try and hit a car in the parking lot if you can put your team up with one swing.
The philosophy behind that, though, is you don't, and again, the game has changed so much since I played in the mid-2000s, where if you had 10 home runs, that was a ridiculous season. You didn't have the quantity of home runs that you do now. But the philosophy is the same. You're looking for that bottom half, center half of the ball. When you get that little extra launch velo, which is something that we talk so much more about in baseball, but it's kind of trickling into the softball game. I don't know if you want to try to hit a home run, but you want to try to pinpoint the spot on the ball that you're looking for the contact point.
Just want to hit it hard. I think
That
she's
too.
got enough juice. She can drive balls out to right center, right field, even if she isn't yanking them to left or down the line. Pitch down and out. I would say it's a situation where you're Bree Ellis, and she says, or she's told me, she thinks about at bats from a year ago. I mean, she sits there and she goes over in her mind at bats. Right now, what she must be thinking about late in the evening is how they're pitching me inside, outside. They are really trying to get me off the middle of the plate. Got a pitch to hit there and rolls it into left. Maybe not home run type contact, but Arkansas will take it a leadoff base hit to begin the bottom of the 6th inning.
Not home run type contact, but it doesn't matter. She still found a way on base to lead off the inning. That's the danger that Bree Ellis brings. Ball on the outer part of the plate, curveball, doesn't have as sharp of a break. Ellis is way out in front of that ball. You can see how she pulls it towards that left side. The barrel of the bat was extended towards the left part of the field, pulls around it, but still hits it sharply enough to put it through the 5-6 hole.
If that's 4 inches closer to her than on the outside corner, that's probably going to be a lot of damage.
You're talking about Ellis in the swing in the parking lot. If there is a player in the Arkansas lineup that is made for these situations, Hannah Gamble to me is the one you're circling in this inning. She's due up next, and she just seems to have that knack for coming up with the big hits and the big moments, even when she has struggled at times over the last 2 seasons.
Ali Saki is going to run for Bree Ellis. Arkansas has not had a runner reach third base in the game. They had first and second, nobody out in the second, but did not score, obviously. And Halverson, the cleanup hitter, trying to bunt, and she went jumping out after that pitch.
How far Halverson went jumping out of that pitch indicates to me that that was a bunt and run, because that was a protection style bunt. Halverson knows the strike zone so well. That ball was never in the strike zone. That definitely reads as trying to protect Saki from being thrown out at second base.
I believe you're right. That pitch came in and she bunted it right at the plate. So now what do you do? 0-2.
I'm not a big fan of putting down a bunt with 2 strikes, especially with the power that you have in your lineup. Arkansas isn't necessarily a small ball team, and I think you're asking Halverson to do something she should be able to do, and that's a whole different conversation, but something that she's not the most comfortable with. I think you let her swing away here.
She's going to have to hit on the terms of Beaver. 0-2. That one up and in. Saki at first, nobody out. Last of the 6th inning. Outside to Halverson, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That's a good take there from Halverson. After getting ahead 0-2, Beaver has gone right after her with really enticing pitches. She climbed the ladder with that swing and miss rise ball, came back with a curveball, just missed the outside corner.
Big pitch here. The 2-2. Popped up again. Hevelin has been busy. She's got it. Out number 1. And it will bring up Gamble, but Saki at first, not second.
And go back to that second bunt that Halverson missed and bunted foul. You pull those arms as a bunter. If you soften up those arms, there's a fine line between too soft that causes the ball to glance off of the bat and soft enough where you have that little deadening effect, and that's what Halverson did in that situation.
Gamble, of course, had that huge game on a Monday night at Georgia where she had the grand slam and another home run into the construction zone at 5 runs batted in. She'd take a ball to the gap here. Not sure if Saki could score, but I think she'd like to find out. Beaver's next pitch, well placed, inside corner.
Well, make no mistake, Kayla Beaver knows Hannah Gamble's reputation for coming up big in big moments, going after Gamble there with the screwball. For me, I think that's actually Kayla Beaver's best pitch. It's a really smart decision there.
1 on, 1 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Check swing, little pop-up. Caught by Dukeshire. That's a frustrating at bat for a hitter. When you get a pop-up or a check swing, let alone both in one sequence.
And not the at bat that Hannah Gamble wanted to have there. She was looking for something to attack that she could really hunt. Didn't want to go after that one. Unfortunately, couldn't get the barrel of the bat out of the way.
So it's up to Kennedy Miller. Twice she's hit the ball on the ground. Smokes that one, but fouled outside of third base.
It's a great swing by Kennedy Miller. I always loved being a first pitch swinger because oftentimes it's the best one you're going to get. That was a screwball. Miller able to keep her weight back, but didn't keep the hands inside the ball. Pulled it just around and sent that ball foul instead of shooting it down the third base line.
Conversation in the circle is Arkansas. Beaver, get it?
But
got it?
Yeah.
Socked in the air to right, but maybe off the end of the bat. Caught by Johnson. And the frame ends. We played 6 innings. Nothing has been pushed across yet as we go to the 7th. Arkansas has out-hit Alabama 5-2, but the Hogs have made a couple of errors. No runs across the board yet. You see the situational hitting. How about a combined 0 for 22 with runners on base? 0 for 22.
You can look at it 2 different ways. You can look at
I can look at it one way.
Well, yes, the statistic is bad.
Okay.
But it's all about how you process information, right? So you can say, yes, the offense isn't doing your job, but that's runners on, not necessarily runners in scoring position. But the pitchers, on the flip side of that, they've been doing their job once they've given up a runner on base.
Indeed they have. Hevelin, Valentine, and White. 7, 8, and 9 to up here in the 7th inning. Big wave and a miss.
Lauren Esmond getting a chance to pinch hit. The transfer initially started her career at Michigan. Hasn't played a whole lot for Alabama this year.
32 at bats, 8 hits. Coach Murphy trying to pull something out of the fire. That's a cue ball down to third, but handled by Gamble for the first.
He said he picked conferences that had nothing to do with sports but would still be applicable.
There's a liner just over the tip of the glove of Gamble, and that's a base hit for Alabama to begin an opportunity maybe to score with 1 out in the 7th inning.
Good night for Riley Valentine. She's been on base all 3 times. If in off the hands, just able to fight it off, very similar to the way that Reagan Johnson was able to get her single. Cut on the inside, just that outstretched glove of Gamble. Slim margins, game of inches. That one way or the other. We'll be looking back at that single should Alabama score in this inning as the potential that could have been. There would have been 2 outs, no one on, had that ball been an inch or 2 closer to Hannah Gamble.
She's got some glittery, sparkly
I like it.
eye black or eye whatever we're calling that.
I think that's eye red. I don't know if you
Might
call that
be.
eye black. You talk about Coach Cal leaving Kentucky after 15 years. And certainly no disrespect to the Alabama fans. I'm not sure the softball fan base is quite as rabid as the Kentucky basketball
No, I
fan
understand.
base.
It's all relative, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
As Broadfoot pinch hits. She got dinged, I think, with a collision at first not that long ago, but batting here. Hits one hard on the ground. Might be two. A flip to second. On to first. Double play. The Hawks turn another one. Nicely done by Cammonson and Halverson, and the Hawks can win with a running. 7, 8, and 9 due up. Reagan Kramer will begin things, and then it's Hedgecock and Cammonson against Kayla Beaver, who's just barely over 80 on the pitch count.
Regardless of how this game ends, both Kayla Beaver and Morgan Linestock have pitched well enough to win, but Arkansas fans looking at that scoreboard, all they see is a blank space for a 1.
Kramer takes strike 1. Kramer's hit 3 home runs. Corners near the lines, respectively.
And Kramer not really known for her power. She will hit a Jimmy Jack every once in a while. Much more of a station-to-station type batter. She's got a great eye, which makes her ideal as a leadoff hitter in this situation.
On the ground to first. Is that a fair ball? It's a foul ball, says our plate umpire Scott Mayer, and barely. It's his call until it gets to the base.
Game of inches, Brett.
No doubt. I think it took just a little hop here at the very end right there.
Yep. Huh? In the words of John McEnroe, there may have been titanium paste. It doesn't matter.
Does not. Kramer down on strikes. Always important to keep that leadoff runner off the bases when one run can win it.
Arkansas has only had a leadoff runner on in 2 innings, the second in the 6th. Beavers done a good job really limiting their opportunities.
When Arkansas won in 10 innings in Tuscaloosa last year, it was Hedgecock who hit a home run. Now, Ryland decided late to come back. She's hit 4 homers. Maybe numbers-wise, it hasn't been the year last year was. It would be really tough to equal that, but an opportunity nonetheless for a big swing here. 21 homers last year, 3rd most by a Razorback. She fouls one away.
The conversation about Ryland Hedgecock, I was talking to Coach Courtney Deifel a few weeks ago, and she said Hedgecock has such an upbeat attitude, even though she hasn't had the season that she wanted. But every time we see her swing, we just feel like she's one swing away. And certainly if you're Arkansas, you would love for that swing to be now for Ryland
That's
Hedgecock.
a good point. I'm sure they're wishing if they could pick a precise location, it would be now. Off the hands, fouled away. I'll say it again, what Kayla Beaver has done really well tonight, and I'm guessing she's done it most of the year, is she's stayed away from the heart of the plate. She's come in, she's worked away, she's gone up and down at times.
You go back to those efficiency numbers and the number of pitches, and a lot of those 2 things work in tandem because she hasn't fallen behind in counts. So she's been able to work at the corner. She hasn't had to bring the ball over the heart of the plate.
It's a big part of it, yep. 0-2. Tapped in front of the plate. Does she get a swinging bunt here? And Hedgecock will beat it out. Another swinging bunt hit when the Razorbacks had the potential winning run on base, and even Rue can't hide a smile. I bet she's not had many of those in her career.
That's a smile and a big sigh of relief for Ryland Hedgecock. A nubber off the end of the bat, a miss hit. That's the second time that we've seen that for these Arkansas hitters. Look at how far in front Hedgecock is on this pitch. That ball is so far outside the plate. That was a great angle. Hedgecock out in front of it, but she's able to cue ball it into the only place she could, because the only player that had a play on that ball was Kayla Beaver, and there was just too much time to be able to deliver a good throw to first base.
Going to bring up Lauren Cammonson. Arkansas will run again at first base for Hedgecock. Riley Cloud will do the honors. Cammonson was robbed of a hit by the first baseman Dukeshire her last time in. Able to spear a line drive that looked like it might be headed to the right field corner. fouled right back to the screen. That was coming at us.
I had my hands ready.
That net was going to take it, but
I was terrible during volleyball season, but softball season, I'm golden. You mentioned the ball that Duke Shore snagged at first. We talked about the game of inches, and at the time that ball didn't seem that important, but how big does it loom now?
a little bit up and a little bit out. Kamensen's been big defensively tonight at short. Can she pop one to the gap? Foul territory. Dukeshire with room. 2 outs. Turns the lineup over for Reagan Johnson, who's 1 for 3.
It's a good job by Duke Shore making sure that she took the right path to that ball, drop step, able to get behind it. That ball had a lot of spin on it. It was moving towards the sideline, tailing away. That's a really difficult play that Duke Shore made look easy.
Johnson does not have a home run, in case you're curious. 95th pitch of the night from Beaver.
Not only does Johnson not have a home run, she doesn't have an extra base hit in SEC play this season.
And outfielders creeping in, as you could imagine. She dumped one in front of another Johnson in left in the 5th. Right back to the circle. Well, the last 2 games, 3 did reach on an error when she bunted her last time in. Not a bad pitch from line stock to see if Johnson might be squaring or bunting. Reese Burline throwing in the bullpen in case she's needed. Again, this will be pitch number 100 for line stock. There's a bunt that Johnson has to avoid. Ellis will throw to Halverson, covering with a good throw, so both teams get something out of that. Bama has a runner in scoring position. Arkansas gets the first out.
Well-executed sacrifice by Lauren Johnson of Alabama. At times in this game, it feels like sacrifice bunting has gone by the wayside, but Johnson did exactly what she was supposed to. She squared early. She kept the barrel level. She pushed it to the right side of the field, where Arkansas's only option was to get the out at first and move that runner into scoring position.
Virginia Johnson is 0 for 3. Big opportunity for Alabama. Chopper to third. Gamble looks the runner back, able to throw a strike to first. That was a clinic as far as looking to Halen back to second and still easily getting Johnson at first.
A clinic is right, and not just looking, there was a little bit of mean mugging going on as well. Watch the facial expression. Well, Gamble really wanted Cahalan to try and run over there, forces her back to the bag, and as soon as Cahalan made her decision, Gamble turns and fires an absolute bullet over to first.
This is Downing. Well, she was up there to swing, went chasing on the first one. Arkansas trying to keep this game scoreless into the bottom of the 8th inning. Called strike. Now it's 0-2, and Downing will have to hit in the terms of line stock.
A couple of big pitches by line stock after what felt like it could be the moment that Alabama was going to break this game open.
Alabama has stranded 6 so far in the game. Just missing, and the fans here at Bogle jumped out of their seats at once.
The Razorback faithful. Courtney Deifel agrees. Really?
That was a look, too.
Yeah, well, you could definitely read what Coach Deifel just said on her lips. There was no question about it.
And a 1-2. Roped, but way foul off the screen. Down the line and left.
Good aggressive swing there from Dowling. So oftentimes where you take a ball that's borderline, where you could have been rung out on, the next pitch is going to be something that's close to the zone because the pitcher doesn't want the same thing to happen. So it's a really great pitch to go after.
Downing is the cleanup hitter for the Crimson Tide. Awaits a 1-2, and that's in the dirt. That was a good job by Miller to smother that one.
I agree. Great job from Miller in a pressure situation. We've seen at times that drop ball present some problems. Some balls have kicked away. That time Miller keeps the chest out in front and smothers that ball to keep it from going anywhere.
From 0-2 to 2-2. That was an excuse me swing. Can Ellis win the race to the bag? Yes, she can. Leadoff single. Crimson back in the third inning. She's going to send one into right for a base hit. So Arkansas begins their eighth inning, just as Alabama did with a leadoff single to right, and Carter represents the potential winning run.
And just like Cahalan for Alabama, it's a dangerous leadoff hitter to have on. Ball in the inner half of the plate. Great swing from Carter. Talked about Beaver not catching too much of the plate. That ball did, and Carter took advantage, going up first pitch, hunting, not being passive.
That puts a jolt through this crowd. Bree Ellis will bat. And Ellis fouls one back and out of play. How do you want to pitch Bree Ellis here, or do you pitch her any differently than you have throughout the night?
It's a great question. If I'm Caleb Beaver, and I know Caleb Beaver fairly well, she's not the type of pitcher that is going to be afraid of someone. She really is at her best when she is going after and attacking. So I don't expect to see her nibble. I expect Beaver to attack Ellis in the way that she has all night, just like that screwball, even though that one just missed.
And as much as these teams have played extra inning games, Arkansas and Alabama, and you see Bree's numbers on the season, remember the last time Beaver faced Arkansas, she threw a shutout.
That would give me a ton of confidence if I was in the circle, but again, different year, different teams, but you know, history does.
That is a mile-high pop-up that should find the seats and will. Just about hit three people in the first couple of rows. They talk about big league pop-ups in baseball. Bree Ellis hits big league pop-ups in softball.
I lost track of that one. It was so high. Wow.
It takes strength or bat speed to be able to get a ball that high in the air, to be able to lift one with that swing. Next one to Ellis downstairs. Now this is the crux of the matter, though. You don't want Ellis to hit a ball off the fence or beyond, but a walk puts Carter in scoring position with nobody out.
That's why the leadoff hit for Carter was so important, because it puts this pressure on the Alabama defense, which, as we've mentioned, has struggled at times throughout this season.
Huge pitch. Up the middle. Fielded nicely by Cahalan. Flips to second for an out. No double play. We've had so many near DPs. Good turns. It's so hard to turn double plays in softball, but they get the lead runner.
I mean, Cahalan ranging over to get to that ball. So often you see a grounder that's hit that well sneak its way through the infield. There was never a doubt that Cahalan was going to track this down. Look at the angle she takes on this ball. That back step, and immediately she's so fast to the ball, and then the transition, the little shovel. She gave Hevelin an opportunity to potentially turn a double play. That one was not far off.
Halverson singled in her first at bat. Has since flew out to deep center and popped to second. She's had the best swing as far as distance tonight by a Razorback.
Not just distance, but in terms of contact points. So that ball that she hit, the fly out to center field, it was well struck.
Halverson takes a strike. This has been a series long dominated by Alabama to the tune of 64-14. It's been much more competitive in recent seasons, but this first game of the series so very important for these teams equally matched. As Halverson fouls one back to the screen, and remember, the longer you play tonight, the more it's going to impact your pitching for the next two games.
Which is why Arkansas, should this game continue, they want to ride Morgan Linestock as long as possible. And in my opinion, the longer this game goes, the more advantage it gives to Arkansas as this series continues, because Alabama runs Caleb Beaver out on Friday and on Sunday.
That's right. The 1-2. A little bit in. Good pitch to see if maybe Halverson might swing and hit one off her hands, but now the count is even at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ellis at first, 1 out. This is trouble. Cahalan can't scoop it. Beaver went after it. She might have impacted the vision of her shortstop, and that's another swinging infield hit. in this bizarre game without any extra base hits.
Embrace the chaos. This is such a difficult ball. It's a slow chopper, and as a player, it's so difficult when you're a pitcher to not go after that ball. But Beaver tracks over, doesn't quite get a handle on it. Third base is in there. You've got Cahalan coming up, and so it's just a little bit of messy chaosness, and so no one comes up with it, and the result is 2 on with only 1 out, and Hannah Gamble at the plate.
That was ruled an error.
Let your middle infielders come in because they're always moving forward. Even if Beaver had fielded that ball, she would have had to turn all the way around.
Hannah Gamble steps in with a chance to win this game. No guarantee on a base hit that Ellis would score from second base because Alabama is creeping their outfielders in a few steps all the way around.
Are you surprised Arkansas is not pinch running for Bri Ellis?
Well, they did earlier.
That's right, Saki did.
Beaver to Gamble, a comebacker. They'll go for the lead runner at third base, and again, more soft contact on the infield. Ellis is retired, now 2 outs in the inning.
Credit Kayla Beaver, though, for coming back with that type of pitch against Hannah Gamble, and when it felt like Bogle was ready to explode. Ball on the outer part of the plate, gets Gamble off the end of the bat, pulling it just softly back up the middle and able to erase the leadoff runner. That's such a huge pitch.
So now it's up to the freshman, Kennedy Miller. If you drew up this inning for Arkansas, you would say, well, get Carter on to start the inning, and then have Ellis, Halverson, and Gamble bat, and they've gone through those hitters.
On paper, you could not have drawn it up any better for the Razorbacks, but again, credit Kayla Beaver in the circle. She has been crafty and met the moment.
But Halverson has a better chance to score on a base hit if Kennedy Miller can deliver. And now the count 1-1 after that foul ball.
Now, Halverson runs well. This isn't the fastest Arkansas team. They're faster than they have been in recent years, but Halverson does run well at second base. She's got those long strides that allow her to cover ground, and you have to imagine Courtney Deifel going to be aggressive on any ball to the outfield.
Yeah, she's an athlete. 111 pitches on the night now for Beaver after she misses downstairs. So I feel like she's got plenty more left in the tank if need be. Obviously, she wants to send this game to the 9th inning.
How about that pick just there, though, by Valentine behind the plate? Nice job keeping that ball squared up in front of her nonchalantly.
The 2-1. Wave and a miss. You know, in baseball, hitters used to yell at pitchers, throw me a fastball, be a man. These hitters almost must be saying, just throw something over the plate so I don't quit swinging at pitches that are a foot outside.
That was dirty. That was an off speed. We haven't really seen that from Beaver, and Miller way out in front.
That hurt my shoulder on that swing. Popped up. It will be put away. 8 innings, not enough. 8's not enough. We'll go to the 9th. Still no runs up on the big.
And Kayla Beaver, but how about Carlin Pickens up at Tennessee? Man, she is fun to watch.
First pitch swing, right to Gamble again. Kendall Clark retired to begin the inning.
It can't be said enough how crucial of a defensive play that is. Hannah Gamble was up in the bottom of the last inning, had a chance to walk the game off, couldn't get it done. So often you'll see players bring that with them out into the field. The ball finds them, and then bad things happen. Gamble shook it off, got right back out there, and made the strong throw, able to get the first out of the inning.
This is Dukeshire.
That was an unintentional Taylor Swift reference.
There you go. I like them all. Dukeshire came up with a couple of runners on base in the 6th and flew out to rather deep center to Johnson. You see she's 0 for 3 on the night. Bama has 4 hits, Arkansas has 7, all singles. So again, we have not had a single hit tonight with a runner on base. Is that correct?
That is correct. 0 for 31 with runners on base. There have only been minimal runners in scoring position. 0 for 12 in that category.
Well, I would say someone needs to hit a solo home run if you want to win this game.
That does. You and I were talking a few innings ago. This game has that feel to it where it's going to be that one player that gets that one pitch. But that, again, you go back to the slim margins in the game of inches and how close and how tight this series more than likely is going to be.
Gamble again. Tell you what, ground ball outs have been prevalent this evening.
That's to be expected. 2 primarily drop ball pitchers. line stock more so than Beaver, although Beaver is featuring that drop more this year than she has in years past. But credit the defense as well. Arkansas has made the 2 errors. They've come on throwing errors, but they've been fairly solid with the gloves, as you see 15 ground outs.
Evelyn will bat here. She was pinch hit for back in the 7th, so she's 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Five home runs on the year. Is there a pitch count for a line stock in which you'd be concerned if she attains it, or are you going to just keep rolling her until you get an outcome?
Well, considering there's no action in the Arkansas pen, I think the decision is to roll it. Now, if you start to get past 10 innings, I think both teams have to consider it, only because you're looking at the entirety of the series, but also you don't want to go. It's such a tricky question, because if you pull your starter too early, then what happens?
And again, remember, Dels and Fouts both went 10 innings in that deciding game last year. The difference was it was the final game of that series. You didn't have 2 more to follow.
It reminds me of an Arkansas baseball game back in the Super Regional. I think it was against NC State, where Dave Van Horn ended up pulling Jackson Wiggins in like the 3rd inning as the starter, and NC State ended up scoring and sending that game to a decisive Game 3. And so it's that crapshoot. But it's why Courtney Deifel's in that situation and you and I aren't.
Yeah, it's one I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, because you start to see that pitch count rise and you're like, can we score a run? And then the opponents are saying the same thing. Can we just get a run? We've seen more balls like that, though. You know, big swings and tapped and swinging bunt types. That one just went foul, though.
And those type of balls are indications that the break is still there on the pitches. They're still, got to make sure that the cover, there was no rip in the seam. Right, because the pitcher can use that with their finger to really turn in there and work on the spin to get it to move a little bit more. But the fact that you're still seeing those weak ground balls means that both line stock and Beaver are still effective at this stage of the game.
Count has gone full. The payoff from line stock. Hit hard on the ground. Picked by Cammons, and another ground ball and another big-time play.
What a snag from Cammons.
Kramer, Hitchcock, and Cammonson. Kramer's 0 for 3. Both pitchers well up over 100 on the pitch count.
This will be the 4th in the last 5 games that Kayla Beaver has thrown that have gone over the century mark, very close to matching that 129. That's a season high. That was back on March the 17th at Georgia.
How about each pitcher walking just one hitter tonight? You can say what you want about not getting base hits with runners on base. It's been part of the storyline, but there haven't been many free bases.
Well, that was crucial for Alabama coming in. That was something that Coach Murph really keyed in on. He said the freebies are killing us. And Kayla Beaver hasn't issued many, just the lone walk.
2-0. Got to believe Kramer might sit on a pitch, and she does, and taken for strike 1. Kramer last year, when Arkansas was struggling to hit in the postseason in the regional, she was the one player that was having great at-bats and picking up hits. You know, you kind of have one of those moments where you feel like you belong, but it comes at a time when your team's being eliminated. So it was kind of a rough situation. She will take and look at a strike. So she flipped that bat aside, but instead of ball 4, the count has gone full.
And Courtney Deifel has talked about this and what just happened. Reagan Kramer has such good strike zone recognition that sometimes it's too good, and it doesn't necessarily match what the umpire zone is calling by a fraction of an inch, and so she'll take good pitches.
She's by far the most patient hitter on this team. She's run the count full. She's going to take ball 4. 27th walk of the year, and another base runner aboard to begin an extra inning.
It's a really quality at bat from Reagan Kramer. Kayla Beaver doing what she could. Reagan Kramer just the one batter that refuses to expand her zone for anyone, and Kramer gets rewarded with the leadoff walk.
And that's discipline. And Here's Hedgecock at a swinging bunt, if you will. An infield hit back in the 7th. 4 home runs on the year for Hedgecock. She's going to bunt. It's a hard one. Beaver has one play, and she threw a fastball to first to Hevelin. For a split second, I could envision that one rolling down the line, but it was caught. Sacrifice executed.
Well executed sacrifice on both sides. Rylan Hedgecock got a ball that was coming in on the hands. It was a screwball. Great decision in terms of pitch from Kayla Beaver. Just a better execution there from Rylan Hedgecock.
Lauren Cammonson has been one of the stars defensively tonight. Can she end this game? Her 1 home run of the year came against Mississippi State when Arkansas was run ruled a couple of weeks ago. Into center for a base hit. White comes up with the baseball. There's a bobble. Arkansas's going to win it. Taylor Swift once sang, "I don't want to live forever. I thought we might play forever." But Arkansas